Welcome to the Oli and Danny Podcast. We're your hosts, a husband and wife team with 23 years of marriage, 2 amazing kids, and plenty of stories and wisdom to share. Every day we're here with fresh episodes tackling your letters and emails about love, relationships, and family life. From tough decisions to heartfelt dilemmas, we bring honest advice, relatable stories, and a touch of humor to help you navigate it all. So whether you're on a morning commute, taking a break, or winding down after a long day, tune in for your daily dose of real issues and real solutions. This is the Oli and Danny Podcast, where love, laughter, and life lessons come together. Welcome to the episode.
Welcome to the Oli and Danny Podcast. We have another episode for you, another couple in trouble.
Hello, beautiful people. Today we've got a letter from one of our Jane Smiths, and it says, "Dear Oli and Danny, I'm reaching out for advice on a situation that's been causing tension in my relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for 3 years, having met at the start of college. I come from a challenging background, while he was raised in a well-off Italian family with lots of support. From the beginning, he made it clear he was dating to marry, and I've never doubted his intentions. He doesn't drink, smoke, or party, and is very career-oriented, which aligns with my values. On paper, everything between us looks perfect. However, I've been feeling increasingly invalidated by him. He doesn't believe in mental health issues and often tells me my anxiety isn't real. While I haven't been formally diagnosed, I do experience episodes that affect me deeply. His dismissive attitude makes me feel belittled and unsupported. Additionally, as a woman of color, I care deeply about social issues. Being Italian, he doesn't fully understand my perspective and sometimes makes insensitive remarks. Although he's willing to learn, his efforts often feel insufficient, leaving me feeling misunderstood and isolated. I love him deeply and believe he cares about me. However, I can't shake the feeling of being invalidated and unsupported. I'm also afraid of being alone or starting over, and I wonder if my unstable childhood is causing me to misinterpret these issues."
This sounds to me like it's a problem with knowledge and understanding. It sounds like your partner doesn't understand what mental health really is. So maybe a good starting point would be see if you can educate him a little bit more. You did say he is willing to learn, which essentially means that he's open to being educated. So that will be a good starting point, is try and educate him a little bit more about mental health, anxiety, and so on. We know this is not in dispute. Mental health is very, very real. Mental health issues are very real. Lots of people have them. We understand that they could be brought on by hormone imbalances. We know they're largely associated with neurochemicals in the brain. So they're very real. But as I said, it sounds like there's an issue here with education. So that would be a good starting point, is get him educated. The other thing I would say is you yourself might need to go get formally diagnosed, because you have to bear in mind that it can be very difficult to convince people, even people that trust you and then that care about you, to just accept that you have mental health issues. It sounds to me like that is the subliminal message that he is putting out, that he just doesn't believe that you have these issues. I do not understand the wider context of your relationship, but there could be something around this that you might have to explore yourself and find out what he really feels about the fact that you have a mental health issue. So I would say definitely go and see a professional about it, because it will be good for your own personal well-being. And if it can be officially proven and he is still taking his stance, then it's very possible you might have to reevaluate this relationship. But for me, that would be the starting point.
That's a really good point Dad raised. Mental health issues are not a philosophy or a belief system. They are quite complex, and just like with any other physical illness, you will need a lot of support if indeed you do have mental health issues. So for the sake of your own clarity and for the sake of being able to ask efficiently for the support that you will need, I think it's a great idea to actually go and get yourself formally diagnosed. If he continues to deny that there is such a thing as mental health issues, that for me would then be a cause for concern, because as I said before, you would need quite a bit of support with whatever is discovered once you do get a diagnosis. So you do want to bear that in mind. The second thing I wanted to say is that it sounds like, aside from the 2 issues you've raised, you guys have a pretty solid relationship with a lot of core values in common. And that that's usually a pretty good place to start from. If you're in a serious relationship that you know you both want to progress, that's a great place to be. However, if other things are flaring up, even with those core values in mind, you do need to maybe just take the time to figure out whether these are issues that you're going to be able to navigate together going forward. As a Black woman, you will face issues in your own life that will not just affect you, they'll come to affect him by extension as well. So if you are going to share a life, it is going to be crucial that he comes to understand these issues and can offer you some support with those issues when the time comes. So I would say, again, like Dad said, it is a question of education. The good news is that he is open to being educated. So I think what needs to happen is you guys need to come up with a framework that will allow the communication that needs to happen between you both to flow in an easy manner and in a way where tension doesn't build up around it.
You mentioned childhood trauma, which I find interesting, but I don't have a lot of context. It would have been nice to know what kind of childhood trauma you experienced. You also mentioned that you come from a non-white background and he comes from an Italian white background, and this is one of the reasons why he can't see your perspective. I can definitely understand that people do come from different backgrounds, and with those backgrounds they have different experiences, but again, no one is beyond relating to another person on a cultural level. You guys decided to get together, and that meant that you were going to have scenarios where your cultures were going to somewhat cross over and maybe overlap in some areas, and in other areas just contradict each other. And I think this is something that you have to get comfortable with, and you need to talk more openly about your cultural experiences. Naturally, in the world we live in today, whether this is from a political standpoint, from a social one, cultural one, there's a lot of contradiction these days. Everyone has their own idea about the way things should go. So I would definitely say, because you're also part of this world and you're going to be affected by these sound bites, you should do your best to try not to bring this into your relationship. You should probably try and think about things from a very novel point of view. Maybe think about your cultural experiences as very, very individual and talk about them individually. Don't essentially relate them to the wider cultural experience. This will be very traumatic for you because, of course, you are couples from different cultural backgrounds. So if you relate that to the wider experience that we already know is rather polarized, then you're going to get a polarized relationship. So I would suggest that you initiate some kind of new thinking and thought process and don't really get bogged down essentially in the wider cultural issues that are affecting the world. That's what I think about it, and I think that will be a good thing for your relationship overall.
You mentioned that you're afraid of being alone or starting over, and you wondered whether that might be a part of what's causing you to misread the situation. I would say, with regards to your fear of being alone or fear of starting over, you should probably seek some therapy, some counseling. I don't know what the financial situation is there, whether you are able to do that, to get that help from a professional. If not, then seek someone who you consider a mentor, someone who is capable of being someone who is able to offer you some advice that is unbiased, some independent advice, so you can try to find a way to move forward as a healthy individual, or as close to mentally healthy as you can be. Because the truth is that relationships in themselves are quite complex, and when we come to them with a lot of past traumas, inevitably that will affect the quality of the relationship that we have with that person or with the other person. So it's really important that you try to get to a place of as much balance as is possible for you.
Well, that's all we have for you today. Again, don't forget to email us, Oli and Danny Podcast 101@gmail.com, with all of your issues. We'll be happy to address them. Till the next episode, adios.
Ciao guys, we'll see you in the next one.